We're looking at the body at a whole deeper level and connecting the infinite flow of the universe. And when you do that, you just get into these flow states. And when you have your whole body and whole brain working in succinct, measures, you're going to start to feel your performance elevate, your mood elevates. You're going to see all the abundance coming your way.
How grounded do you really think you are? And I'm not talking about mentally and emotionally, not this time. I'm actually referring to the energy and the frequencies around you. Do you ever think about that? Because there's a lot of talk over the last few years about the impact of electromagnetic frequencies and fields, or EMFs, and the negative impact that it actually has on the body. Our performance and optimization as a human machine is being attacked. And with all that technology out there, from smartwatches and smartphones to how you measure your fitness data and even wire your home, that radiation is really something to think about. Justin Frandson has been studying performance and athleticism for over 25 years, and it is definitely on his mind. So much so that he wrote the book about it. And his mission is to help people get grounded in more ways than one. So during our conversation on Holistically Speaking, he gets real about the damage of EMFs in our lives, but also the changes you can make to protect yourself from getting sick and also living longer and stronger mind, body, and spirit. Justin also shares why getting grounded with nature could be what you need, the perfect solution, and how one plant-based product could be the key to a healthier body and brain. Plus, we're doing a giveaway this week to help keep you healthy, but also keep your personal information safe. That's a big one right there. It's time to get grounded on this week's Holistically Speaking. This is an area that I have not covered, talking about electronic magnetic fields, really performance and athleticism to the max. And if anyone knows this space, it is you. So thank you so much for being here on Holistically Speaking.
Oh, Hilary, thank you for having me.
This is great. I think the one thing that I want to talk about, because you have your book, Athleticism, which is you have your website, athleticism.com, that whole body, whole brain, which really equals the performance and how we live our lives. And as somebody who has been in this field for so long, I can't think of anyone better to talk about this and how you can really live your truth, live your passion, and, just live your life in the most highest performing way, but not lose sight of your integrity. So can you elaborate on what it means to be in this whole body, whole brain connection for you?
Yes, it's everything, because that's where all the performance happens. So we're looking at the body at a whole deeper level and connecting the infinite flow of the universe. And when you do that, you just get into these flow states. And when you have your whole body and whole brain working in succinct, measures, you're going to start to feel your performance elevate, your mood elevates. You're going to see all the abundance coming your way.
And you're someone that's actually been in this field for a while, not just as an athlete yourself. I mean, I have had a lot of athletes on the show, but your background working in this field, supporting others, is really how you've learned so much about how to actually live your best life. Can you go back a little bit about that and how you kind of fell into this?
Yeah, I started about 25 years ago working with amateur and professional athletes at a Scripps clinic in La Jolla. And I read an article in the paper about a guy making athletes better athletes. That guy was named Dean Brittingham, who ended up being one of my incredible mentors. And so super blessed to have that. But that started me in this path to health and performance as a career. And so just really fired up to have been able to do that, because it was really out of the box thinking. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to have sick people. I didn't want to needle people. I didn't want to be a masseuse and derobe people. I didn't want to be a PT and have just post-op. I couldn't pinpoint it until I read this article, and it was all about performance for me.
Mm-hmm. And the performance, going back to just your book, which is Athleticism, which is whole body, whole brain equals performance, that's you're taking your energy, your speed, and your coordination to a new dimension. This is for people of all ages. This isn't just for someone who's going out there to do an Ironman. This is for anybody that wants to move their body and move it well, right? So what is it really that you're implementing? Like, what's the story behind this book and the message you're trying to get across?
Oh, the message I get across on this it's basically my career in a nutshell. So anyone really looking to elevate their speed and their coordination, their performance, this book will facilitate allowing you to do that with ease. And the book's broken down into 3 parts. The first part is awareness, which covers all the pillars for health and being connected above, and semantics and understanding what health is and what it's not, and really diving into those intangibles, and a lot of them are tangible as well. And then we go into the whole body exercise, and then whole brain exercises. So those are part, 1, 2, and 3, and how the book's broken down.
I love that you start out with awareness, because that's how I start out with my pillars as well. It's like, before you know anything needs to change, you have to be aware a change has to be made, right? And you really emphasize that in your book. When I was looking through it, that whole idea that holistic is that awareness approach. And I can't embody that any more or say that any better, because you have a whole series of areas that you cover in the book. And there's a lot of knowledge out there. There's a lot of literature out there. And there is some stuff that is not healthy for you, and there's stuff that's obviously more healthy for you. It's really perspective. But the holistic approach, I truly believe, and align with you on that, because it is the awareness first, but it's also that idea of gratitude and the art of being rather than always doing. Because the more in alignment you are with those things, that's where you're really going to live your truth and live well, Love for you to elaborate a little bit on that as well. Thank you.
Well, it is. It's all about being present and being in the moment. I feel that's where the magic happens. And when you get into some daily rituals, and that's what I talk about in awareness, is really creating some rituals where you can wake up and pray and breathe and manifest and ground and have your mantras and really staying present. And I do Tai Chi, and I'll get grounded and do a lot of other things in the morning. And once you have those, then you can connect into those rhythms of universal abundance, and you'll see your energy go up. You'll see your vitality go up. You'll see you won't be lashing out behaviorally. You'll just be more grounded overall. So it's a huge part of it.
Grounding is such a big part of it. And I think we're seeing more of that in the health and wellness space. Like, what we can do, it's not just the foods we eat. I mean, when I was in integrative nutrition at the Institute and learning a lot about the idea of integrative nutrition, I remember learning like the wheel, it's like the circle of life. It's like you've got your primary and secondary foods, and your secondary is like how you're living the secondary is actually the nutrition, where your primary is like your lifestyle, your home life, your career, like your spiritual belonging. Very similar in a lot of ways to the wheel that I think, if you're familiar with Dan Buettner and the whole Blue Zones philosophy of like really living those 9 principles of how to truly embody living well. And we talk about longevity a lot in this day and age as well. But you touch on a lot of that in the book with the foods that we eat, the gut-brain connection, which is so important, the performance, the games we should be playing. Like, it doesn't have to be straight up CrossFit. It could be things that are just like, as my father used to say, massaging your neurons, like just kind of getting your brain moving. But also the idea of like, getting away from the stress that is created in the body. And you just mentioned being grounded, which goes back to, what I want to talk about are the electromagnetic fields and the rocks that you have. And by the way, with all the gifts that I tend to get doing this show, you had like the best, it was the best box I ever opened.
Thank you.
I'm elated. I didn't know. I thought it was from my mom at first, because I'm like, whoa, this is a huge box. I open it up and I'm like, I get the EMF Rocks. I get the MCT lean oil, by the way, in glass. Love that. I get the Faraday bag, which we're actually going to be giving away on the show. So this is like blocking the 4G and 5G, protecting your phone. And I want to really talk about, and the book, obviously. And I want to really talk about the EMF and what significance these rocks truly can have in your performance and living well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what I saw working with athletes, so I started athleticism about 25 years ago, and a lot's changed since then. And I always look to the invisible stressors and like clear the stressors out of your world. And then you just get better already without me having to do much with you. So what I saw is the EMF, the electromagnetic fields or frequencies from man-made, non-native EMFs started to just become really invasive in our world, and their proximities were more, the signals started increasing in strength. Like that was a cell phone started coming in, and then their earbuds, and then electric cars, and it just kept going and going. The wireless, technology, and smartwatches and all this stuff. And I had some clients come in with some EMF challenges, and one in particular is one of the strongest guys we've ever had come in. His left arm went weak from wearing a smartwatch on his wrist, and the entire arm went weak. And I'm like, get the radiation off your body. He takes it off. His arm starts to heal over a few weeks. And it was so just specific, I knew right away that it was the radiation that made him sick and weak. And so I dove into this whole EMF space, and I'm going, gosh, what do we got to do? So intuitively, I wanted to look to nature, because no one kicks off more of a resonance for healing than Mother Nature. So we found these crystals, and they have moisture and magnetic properties. And we put them in a grounding bag, and you use the grounding bag like this. You use it as is. And you put it on your bed, and you'll sleep 3 to 50% better. We sell these as grounding bags through doctor clinics across the country. One of the leading EMF natural protection products on the market. So I just looked to ground us through nature, and I looked to nature to kick off a resonance to create a coherence between us and all the non-native EMFs that we're just bathing in.
I'm really excited to start using this. I've been learning more about the electromagnetic frequencies and fields, and wanting to know how it can make a difference in my life. These are how the rocks come. And like when you first look at it, you see like the seal, like almost like a Ziploc. Do not open that. If you do go and get these, the whole idea is to put them in the bag as they come, so that they stay, I don't know, what would be the word we'd use? Fresh, or not lose their power. What? How would you word
right
that?
Because Hilary, because of the moisture content in them, they'll turn to dust over time when they're opened. And so we double seal them. So we hot seal them in that inner brown bag, and then we seal them inside of a silver bag, and then you have the outer decorative cloth. And so you literally use it as is. So there's no need to open it. I know people want to see what's inside that you did. You're like, I got to see these. They're so beautiful. And they are beautiful pink crystals, but we just want to keep them sealed and use it like this, just fully as it comes. And that's where you're going to see the maximum benefit out of it.
Do they have a lifeline? I mean, is there an amount of time that they will last? Can you elaborate on that?
I would say 2 to 10 years, depending on how much you use them. They'll last for years. So if you're using them in and out of your car and they're in extreme heat, and then the crystals will dry out and they'll turn to dust a lot quicker. If the mini grounding bag, we have a mini for your purse, pocket, and backpack. If that one ends up in the wash machine, it'll turn to clay. When it gets wet, you need to replace that right away. So depending on how people use them, depending on how long it lasts. If you're just setting it by your bed, it'll last for years.
And I imagine you can take, if I have this bag, I could use it when I go to sleep, put it on my bed. When I'm at my workstation, put it there. I could just carry it with me if I want to, if I only have one.
Yeah, Hilary, that's the best thing about this is it's so cost effective. You look at EMF protection products, especially the man-made ones, they're thousands of dollars. number one. And then you can't really take them places. So this one, it's so feasible, and you can move it from your bed to your desk to your car seat and then back to your bed. And then you're protected all the way through. And then you step up and you add more grounding bags to create more resonance and coherence in your home as you financially can afford to.
I love that. The portability factor is big, being able to move things from point A to point B without much difficulty. If you know it's for your own health and well-being, your number one ROI is YOU. That's what I always tell my clients. Like, what are you willing to invest in yourself if you're going to make a difference, in your own life and well-being, right?
Exactly.
So we have the MCT oil, which I thought originally, in all transparency, I got this. I was like, is he sending me cologne? What's this? Because I didn't even know you had this. But the MCT oil, which I do use, what makes this different from other MCT oils?
So athleticism.com, we have all of our curated health products. So we're not just EMF protection. So EMF Rocks would be only the EMF. But the MCT, so I wanted to roll that out to give people just proper fuel. We're not getting enough oils in our body from proper oils, from plant medicine and plant oils. And so ours is one of the purest distilled MCT medium chain triglyceride oils on the market. That means your body will burn it as fat, as fuel. And it's from palm kernel, sustainably sourced, and it has really high levels of C8 and the remainder C10. So the purity of the oil, how we distill it, how it's deployed, and then you just put a teaspoon in your mouth in the morning and at night and let it slow drip, let your saliva absorb it, and then you swallow it. Your appetite will be suppressed all day. You'll buffer insulin. You'll shed those unwanted pounds. It's great for your cognitive, and it's amazing for teeth and gums. So it has it's one of the purest on the market. That our grounding bags right now are the leader selling wise. And this MCT oil is literally, it's a brand new product. We're just rolling to market, but this one will far surpass any of the MCTs in the market right now.
And there's a lot of them out there. When I do my research, when I've put MCT oils into my own plan, I know that it does help. So knowing that it's sourced well, it comes from the goods of the earth, makes a big difference. The fact that you're not using plastic, which, you see some of the stuff on the market, I'm like, it might be great, but you're putting it in plastic, right? And it's bleeding, and it's the carcinogenics, and it amazes me that you see the products on the market now, and they're not really taking that into effect when they're putting products that go into our body that way, So you level up, you spend a little more, but you get more out of it. So that is amazing. Now, what we're giving away on the Holistically Speaking podcast is the Faraday bag, and this is a topic of conversation that's so big right now, especially when the 5Gs came out. There's so much. You have the conspiracy theories, I get that, but you also the truth of just having the 4G and 5G around you. We live in a digital age. How close do you want to have your phone to you? How much technology do you want in your presence so that we're getting away? How much are you willing to allow in your space, and how can it impact you? So what is your goal with the Faraday bag?
Our Faraday bags are awesome. They're so simple and so effective. They actually protect you from your phone, and your phone from surveillance marketing. So it saves the life of your battery. Exactly. You put your phone in it and then seal it up. It's super simple. But your battery will last like 10 times longer, Hilary. It's crazy because they're just data harvesting all your information when your phone's on you. So the phone may or may not ring inside. And that's one thing. When I first made them 3 years ago, the phones wouldn't ring at all, but they're ratcheting up the strength of these phones. And so now these newer generations, they go through 7 millimeters of a static bag, a really well military grade static bag. which is unbelievable. So the newer phones most likely will ring, but when we muscle test them, if I were to muscle test you, do applied kinesiology, just holding your phone, you're going to go weak. When your phone's ringing, you're going to go weak really quickly. When we put the phone in here, ringing or not, you're super strong. So it lowers the stressor down to what bioinitiative.org would consider safe levels. And our body feels that, and it shows it testing the reflexes of your body.
Well, we already deal with enough stresses in today's world of like all the social media that's out there, everything in comparison. I mean, I deal with this a lot, mainly a lot of times with my college students as a professor. I mean, the kids are always online, Instagramming, whatever they're doing, they're putting content out there. So the phone is always in their hands. It's almost like an extra appendage. And I think that in itself is creating the space for more stress. But then you add on top of that the 4G, the 5G, all of that could be weakening your body. I imagine you have your own theory about how this is cognitively affecting people.
Yes, I do. It's not a theory, it's a fact.
Okay. I want you to be the one to say it. I don't want to put the words in your mouth. So,
all right. So let's have a physics lesson and a biology lesson, everyone. Okay.
Great. Not my strong subjects, but I'm going to leave it to you.
So physics wise, the Earth and us are one. We're made off of waveforms that are unpolarized, that distribute equally in every direction. They're called scalar waves. All right. That's how we're made. We're in this electromagnetic blanket of an atmosphere where the air all around our bodies can be ether, and it's filled with plasma. And that's where the waves and particles travel through. That's how we can communicate. You're being across the country. I'm in, Southern California. So all man-made, non-native EMFs, electricity, dirty electricity, and wireless signals are all one-directional waveforms, or they would not work. You have AC, DC, alternating current, direct current. Again, they might be in a wave, but they're one-directional. They have to meet to ground out, okay? All wireless panels, you have panels facing every direction on these cell towers. Why is that? Because they're one-directional waves, and they have to get here, and then they have to get there, and they have to get back there, or they don't work. So when you introduce a one-directional, non-native EMF waveform to our bodies, it's different. And what happens is Dr. Martin Pall at a Washington State University talks about the voltage-gated calcium channels just breaking down, and it lets positive calcium into a negative cell. So that in turn causes tremendous cell and DNA damage. That's a secondary effect from the vibration of these one-directional waveforms. A voltage-gated calcium channel. So that's the voltage, that's the energy, your voltage that's your cells are producing are disrupted from man-made EMF. That's a huge, huge study that he found. So the difference is man-made's one-directional, we're not. If the sun were a one-directional beam, I would be in it and then I'd be out. I probably wouldn't be in it. It would just zap me to death because it would be so strong. It's just, we're not designed that way. But all this one man-made stuff is designed that way. And it just chips away at our life force and our vitality. And to get to where the big thing is, it's the number reason why everyone is getting sick the last 2 years is because the rollout of 5G.
That's scary. It's scary to think about it. And we can't go back. The technology is going to go forward. We just have to do what we can to protect ourselves, right? You're basically your own health advocate first. So what can you do? Put things like the cell phone signaling, a signal shielding in your presence, the EMF rocks, turn off, if you have to use Wi-Fi, turn it off at night. I mean, there's so many things that we could do that we're not thinking about that we don't know could be harming us in our own homes, which is supposed to be your respite, right? And one thing about that I want to talk about is, and we talked about this in our last conversation, is, and you mentioned it with the client that you had, everyone's got the smartphone. Everyone's got the smartphone. And I remember when you were first chatting with me, you were saying it's already an inner clock. And I do believe that, because I don't need something to tell me that I'm tired or I've worked out hard or my body's achy or I got a great workout. But I think in this day and age, we are so about closing the, I don't want to put any, I know that you're okay with it, but like completing the process of this day, or aligning with other people who also are on the same device, and making it seem like you're all part of something. But when the day is done, it's all just data that's going to somebody else. It really is less supporting you.
Yeah.
I'll never be sponsored by certain companies after saying that, but that's okay.
And I wouldn't take their money anyways, but I second that. The smart devices are, all they're doing is aggregating your data. And probably one of the scariest things are the biometrics that they're grabbing, and fingerprint, palm print, your voice imprint, your facial recognition, your retina scans. They're all aggregating all this. And when you start using commerce with those, you're setting yourself up for huge identity theft challenges. And to go back even further, it is all cognitive stuff. It's all cognitive. And there's a book here. Let's talk about this book real quickly. This book, called The Invisible Rainbow. Have you heard about that one, Hilary?
I have not heard about that one.
It categorizes the history of electricity and life. It is absolutely one of the most incredible books you'll ever read in your entire life. It goes back to the late 1800s when we introduced telegraphs into our world, and then electricity into the homes in 1889. And before that, the flu, they called it the flu. They named it the flu because it would fly in, and then you wouldn't see it for several years, and then it would come back, and some people get sick, and then it would go away, and then some more people get sick years later. So they called it because it would fly in and fly out. Not until we introduced electricity into our homes was the flu here to stay. In 1918, we introduced radio waves, and that was the Hong Kong flu. And in World War II, we introduced radar. In the Hong Kong flu, we introduced satellites in the Van Allen belt, this protective layer in our atmosphere. We had never radiated ourselves at those levels before. And each time we stepped it up, people got sick and adapted to that. And guess what? The last 2 years, it was 5G. And so for me, there's no scratching your head on this. Dr. Tom Cowan, C-O-W-A-N, he's an MD that gave up his license, but he had a video that went viral a couple of years ago. And I'm going to ask you guys the same question. He was at a health conference, medical conference, all medical doctors there. And they said, hey, this is like 8 March of 2020. And someone said, he goes, I'm sure you guys want me to comment on, COVID and what's going on. And everyone's like, yeah. So he says, let me ask you a question. If you're all studying dolphins, and there are these healthy dolphins, you're studying them for a decade, and they're healthy as can be, and then all of a sudden in 2020, they all get sick. He goes, raise your hands if you're going to go, did that dolphin give that dolphin a virus? And a bunch of doctors raise their hands. And he goes, raise your hand if you're going to go, hey, I'm going to check their DNA because in 2020, they're all going to get sick. And before anyone could raise their hands, you'd be like, no, that's stupid. No one's going to think that. But I think maybe a few people raise their hands. And then he goes, or are you going to ask, hey, who polluted their water and like some, oil spill and put, toxic oil in their environment? And at that moment, the entire room, really, it was the aha moment where they understood that when you pollute our environment, our bodies will adapt. And that's what we were designed to do. And so that's what's happening with glyphosate. And I feel 5G, we are getting inundated in environmental toxins that are turning into biotoxins at levels that we've never seen. And we produce a virus which is our adaptive system, like fungus and bacteria. It doesn't eat, it doesn't reproduce, it doesn't derive energy in any way, shape, or form. It's self-limiting by nature. By all intensive purposes, it's a dead, it's dead. But we produce those it's our cells excreting waste. Like that's how our body adapts to it. So there's nothing fly around to kill anyone. Our bodies are just adapting to being inundated from environmental toxins. And we adapt when we need to at the level we're capable.
And when you think about it, God, that's fascinating and scary in the same right. Like it's both. And that book sounds amazing. I'm going to put that in the podcast notes so people can see that book. Plus, you might as well add to your library and put Athleticism in there as well. But these are the kind of things we need to do. We need to ask questions, of course. We need to ask questions about this kind of thing when it comes to us living a well-balanced life. I remember talking to Dr. Nicole Appelian, who's a biologist and spent a lot of time in the wilderness. She was on that show alone and she was a guest on the podcast. But the whole idea of that connection to nature, self, and others is so important. And you keep touching on nature, and I can't, we talk about getting grounded, take your shoes off and be one with nature. And honestly, I remember when I went Outward Bound back in a bajillion years ago, I never felt so connected to self when I was just away from all distraction. But there was no cell phones back then, by the way. But if I do it again and I'm in nature, I always feel so good when I'm not near that technology, right? And so there's something to be said about that when we really disconnect. Because when you disconnect to all those things, we reconnect to self, don't we?
Yes. And let me share why. So this other book, it's called Electric Body, Electric Health by Eileen McKusick. Okay. And she talks about the body being a body battery. So you get a negative ionic charge from below, and we pull the electrons into our body to recharge it. And we get a positive charge from above from the unpolarized light of the sun. And we breathe in the minerals through different environments and to build our microbiome. And that's how our body battery gets recharged. So that's why you feel so good when you go out into nature, is we're literally scientifically, biology speaking, we're feeding our body the proper nutrition to recharge it. And yeah, you're not dealing with work and it's not as stressful of a day, but the big thing, underlying thing, is that your body battery is getting recharged the way it's designed to. So that's what nature is all about.
Yeah. And there's nothing better than just being able to take your shoes off and just truly ground yourself walking in the grass, just like for 5 minutes. There's something that we're part of that ecosystem. We're part of being rooted and grounded, and we have to be able to give ourselves that. So I love that you go there. I want to stop for a second and just remind listeners that we're giving away, or actually I want to say Justin has graciously offered to give away the Faraday bag, which I imagine is named after the scientist Michael Faraday.
Yes.
Electromagnetic. Okay, right. So these are not uncommon. You see these around, but there's something about yours that's special. And this is blocking the 4G and the 5G. This is basically protecting your phone from data harvesting, from contact tracing. We have so many people who are having their identities stolen right now. I mean, my mom just went through a whole thing. People are finding information the easiest ways, especially the more you put out there on the internet yourself, the more we post. But we're going to be giving away the Faraday bag with this podcast for the listeners. And right now my phone's in there, so I'm already feeling better that it's not being executed and used. And if you think that this podcast touch, moves, and inspires anyone, consider passing it along. Share this with other people. Learn about how to protect yourself in this world, in this environment, and what you can do to live truly a high performance, whole body, whole brain kind of life. And just a reminder that, Justin, it's such a pleasure to have you here. I want to just go a little deeper too. I want to know, how do you live in your home? Because right now, the way you talk and everything you're sharing, I'm thinking, how are we even connected? Because I look at you and I think this is a guy that just is void of anything that could be hurting you in electronic magnetic frequencies and, not having technology. Like how is a day in the life of Justin when you have to be around these things?
Right. Well, it's been a process. I've learned a lot as well. And, I have a wife. So we have to really be on the same page on this stuff for it to all work. But I think what got us there was before I started the company, I was researching a lot of products, and we still had Wi-Fi on, and we still had all this stuff on, and we'd still sleep with phones in our rooms. And we were still like these young entrepreneurs just hustling and moving and shaking, and nothing could stop us. And all of a sudden, she had some menopause stuff come into play, and she had night sweats, and she wasn't sleeping through the night. Her menstrual cycle stopped completely for 3 months. And the second I loaded the house up with grounding bags, everything normalized. Her cycle returned, no more night sweats, started sleeping through the night. It was instant. And that was the aha moment, that she was during a transitional, aging period where she could feel it instantly. That was the moment where she's like, this is amazing. I'm fully on board. Get these EMFs out of our world. We got our smart meter converted back to analog, which now I think everyone could do because of a privacy challenge. And we have timers on our routers where we're hardwire our house. You actually, we have a timer actually on our electrical panel. So our whole house basically, or at least the bedrooms, I should say, there's no electricity in them at night. They're turned off for at least 7 hours. So we can get a decent night's sleep. And if we need to, we have a switch, we can turn the lights on right away. And that's pretty much how it works. So no Alexas, no wireless cell chargers, no wireless phones, in the home. Everything's basically goes on airplane mode when we're about to go to sleep. And I recommend for everyone to hardwire when possible. So that's kind of how it works. I don't have solar. I don't drive electric cars. I will never drive an electric car because sitting on a massive battery is not good for your health. And it never has been, never will be. And so this narrative that we're being sold that, hey, a drug is healthy, a mask is great for you, that's not true. Oh, the agriculture or the food industry, oh, glyphosate's great for, the crops and it's less bugs. And then we can modify this food and that's great for you. That's not true. Oh, telecom, everyone needs 5G everywhere, even places where there's no electricity, in the rainforest and the forests and the mountains and the oceans and the deserts, and poverty-ridden areas where there's no electricity. That's not true. So we've been sold a bill of goods from all these industries for profit. So what we're doing is really understanding these basics of how the universe really works, having that awareness in our home, and developing proximity protocols and usage protocols with all this technology. And then when we do use it, we use products like our grounding bags, like the healing pulse of the earth in a bag, to create a coherence between us and the man-made stuff. And then that's when we're setting ourselves up for success and more fertility and abundance in our world and health.
That's an interesting topic right there, what you just brought up. I mean, it resonated with me when you were talking about menopause and being in the and between that myself. It's like, I wonder the difference it could make, But talking about the amount of women that deal with infertility, you got to wonder if it's just hereditary or if it is the outside sources that are causing this to happen. The stresses in our body as well. I mean, we are basically, we're science projects to a lot of these things that are happening out there, like the IVFs and the thing. You're a guinea pig, and it's frightening. But I wonder, the more grounded you get, what the difference would be. And if there have been studies on that, I don't even know, on the level of pregnancy, effective and positive pregnancies when you remove some of these sources that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many studies. So bioinitiative.org did the studies on what's safe level. So they have scientists from all over the multiple countries. They've done thousands of studies to set those levels. That's probably a really great resource to look at cellphonetaskforce.org. Arthur Firstenberg's work. He's the author of The Invisible Rainbow, but he's got incredible websites as well with a lot of research on it. One of my colleagues did a blood work test for athletes. He got hired by military special forces to do blood work. He threw in a variable of guys driving electric cars. They had 18% lower testosterone. It was the biggest marker change across the board out of all the blood work was electric cars. So that's huge on fertility. And then I have a colleague for people that got the COVID shot, 20% lower testosterone across the board from her patients. And that's before and after blood work. So you take a perfectly healthy person, you give them a shot, an electric car, and you take them into a dangerous, spot, testosterone wise.
We're like throwing ourselves into the lion's den. We really are. We're so guided by what we're told is right, what we're told is safe, what we're told is healthy. It's like you need to do your own research. Now, given we're not all professionals and, I believe there's an area of staying within your scope of practice if you're actually sharing with others, but you have an obligation to yourself to be your own healthcare advocate, like I said, but also look at reliable sources when you're researching, right? Because there's a lot of stuff out there on the internet, So I love everything you're sharing, Justin. I want to play a little game with you. We've covered a lot of ground. I want to mention again, Justin has his book, Athleticism, which is also his website, athleticism.com. Whole body plus whole brain equals performance. This guy knows his stuff. We've got the lean oil. That's one of the items that's available. Not a cologne, although I bet you can put that behind the ears a little bit. And then, of course, I love these EMF rocks. Thank you for these, by the way. I'm so excited to try this out tonight and going forward and really like seeing how it changes my health. And I'll keep people updated on this too. These great rocks, comes in the bag. Keep it here. Keep them around you. Turn off your Wi-Fi, everybody. And then what we're giving away is the Faraday bag, which is the cell phone signaling and shielding. Turn your Wi-Fi off at night if you're not using it. Put it on airplane mode. But if you're not using your phone, use this bag. We'll be giving that away. And thank you for that as well. So before we go any further, what I love to do with my guests is I do kind of a rapid fire game as we close out each episode. And I want to see what you have to say about these words. It's just basically a word association. I'm going to fire out one word, something you said, and just come back with the first word that comes to mind. I imagine you're clear thinking with all that MCT oil, EMF rocks, and grounding this and that and the other thing, right?
Yes, we'll see.
Let's put Justin to the test. All right, let's do this, my friend. All right, first word, holistic.
That reminds me of Hilary.
Oh, that I like. Best answer ever in 2.5 years of this podcast. Thank you. Athleticism.
Oh, that would be whole body, whole brain performance.
Cool. Performance?
What's the first word for performance?
Yeah, that's what comes to mind.
Oh, man. I would think of infinite flow of the universe.
Oh, I like that. I mean, it's not one word, but I'm going to take it.
One phrase.
That's fine. I'll give you a hall pass for that. Did I say awareness?
Awareness is everything.
That it is, my friend. Brain?
I would say whole brain.
Connection?
God.
Frequency?
A resonance. Everything has a resonance.
I love the word resonance. I'm going to leave it at that. That's a good word. Yeah, that was cool. I like that. I love playing games with you guys. All so fun. That was good, though.
Thank you. You
No
had
two
me on
answers
one.
are ever the same. Well, I love that you associate the word holistic with me, because I mean that's my everything. So thank you for that. That made me feel really good. I want to say thank you again, and give you the space to share a final thought with listeners and viewers, because we're also on YouTube.
Thank you. Yes, Hilary. You guys, it's so important to have this awareness of biology, physics, and bringing it all together. And when you can understand that we're one with Mother Nature, when we're sleeping, we're at 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second. The Schumann resonance of the Earth, that healing pulse of Earth is 7.83 hertz. So we're really rev low and slow with nature. 5G is 60 to 90 billion waves per second. It's so fast and polarizing, so different than how we're designed. So more than ever now, it's so important to understand all these components and how they relate to your health and your wellness and longevity and future, population replenishments and our freedoms, quite honestly, as well. So now more than ever, get grounded by nature outside, and then also inside your home with the grounding bags, because that's your nature.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're bringing nature into your home. Yeah. That's a great way of putting it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And this has been so informative and such a joy to have you here. And I'm looking forward to giving an update on using the rocks myself and everything else you shared. But it's definitely been a pleasure, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Likewise, Hilary. Thank you.
Okay, well, we could all use a Faraday bag in our lives, right? But you have a chance to take one home for free. All you have to do is head on over to my Instagram at Hilary Russo. That is 1 L, 2 S's, at Hilary Russo, and follow the directions there for a chance to win one in our Get Grounded giveaway, right? You might as well try to get one for free. And if you have any questions about the invisible stressors of EMF and you want to connect with Justin personally, you can find that information in the podcast notes as well. Now, Justin shared a lot of really cool stuff that you can add to your home and your life. And if you are interested in ordering the EMF Rocks, the MCT oil, the Faraday bags, and of course his book, Athleticism, and so much more, make sure you use the link in the podcast notes to pick up any of those items. Justin also mentioned some really amazing books during the conversation. I put all of those links in the podcast notes as well. Holistically Speaking is edited by 2 Market Media with music by Lipbone Redding. And of course, I want to leave you with this. Stay safe, my friend. Protect yourself as often as you can and just get grounded and be kind to your mind. And of course, I'll see you next week.